What is a religion? What is a religion? If you follow a particular religion, I'm sure you think yours is the truth and everyone else's is incorrect, but I'm not trying to get into that right now. That's not what we're doing today. I'm trying to just understand what really in practicality is this thing. What is a religion? Well, ultimately, a religion is quite simple if you really break it down. A religion is a group of their book. A religion is fundamentally a group of the book. Okay? So, in Christianity, you have the Bible. In Islam, you have the Quran. In Judaism, you have the Talmud, and so on and so on and so on. So at the end of the day, regardless of level of truth of the religion, looking at just what it actually is, it's a group of the book, right? Religion is a group of the book. People who follow a text, right? A group of people following a specific religious text that they believe is extremely important, powerful, contains history, rules, all of this stuff. Now, what's really, really interesting is you can have public book, for example, Bible, Quran. And then you can also have pubic book, whoops, or you can have a secret book, right? Which would be, you can have a secret religion or a secret society, you know, so for example, like Masonry, the Masons, this kind of thing, where it's not so public, right? Anybody can just read the Bible right now. Anybody can go read a Quran. Anybody can read these books. But the Masons, they have a deeply encoded text with all these layers and all these elements that you have to learn as you go forward, which is a really interesting element of how Masonry works. And what's also fascinating about this is the level of seriousness that the group has about their particular book, the stronger that religion is, right? Because what is the religion? A religion is the group being tied together by a particular text that they can agree upon to say, we believe this is the truth, and therefore that makes us as a group a culture. A culture. Same thing with something like Masonry, where, again, you have the book, you have the code, you have the thing that you need to do, you have the steps and the degrees that you go up as you ascend the Masonic path, right? And the level of seriousness is super important. So, for example, with the Quran, there has been a lot of articles and points in the media that I'm sure you can think of where someone disrespected the Quran or Muhammad or another element of Islam, and there was real pushback by the Islamic community against whatever action that was because they are serious about their book. Now, in the same way, Masonry is also quite serious. It also comes into, you know, like rituals, entry rituals, this kind of thing, where this idea, whatever ceremony that you're doing to enter into that group of the book is usually coming from the book. The ritual is instructed through the book, so that you can join the group. And if you have an extremely serious entry ritual, that's showing a seriousness to the collective, to this religion, right? So in Masonry, when they all wear their robes and, bend each other over or whatever it is they do, they're very serious about that, right? They're very serious about, you are now a Mason, you're now in this world, you have chosen to be in this, and there is no escape now. It's very serious. Now, what's interesting about this one is that Christianity has had a level of unseriousness in American culture, in European culture, really all around the world, in the last, for a while now. Especially in America. And I can't speak on everywhere. Obviously, there are very, very serious pockets of Christianity all around the world. But right now, in America, there is no real serious ritual to enter in other than saying the prayer, right? Accepting Christ into your heart, then you become a Christian, this sort of thing. But you don't have to do any sort of rituals to enter the church or you just show up. You just say a prayer. Baptism is definitely there. That's a larger ceremony. But it doesn't have this weight to it that really separates a Christian from the dominant culture that exists at large. And this is very intentional in the sense of what American Protestant Christianity is set up to be and built as today. It's supposed to be fairly unserious. Because again, like I have discussed in some of the recent videos, America is not really a religion of we're not a religious nation, or we are a religious nation, but we're not a nation of Christianity. That is the dominant narrative. That's the marketing. That's the propaganda. America's a Christian country. But no, America is a Masonic country. America is a Judaic country. America is a country of money. America is not really a country of this book. We're not really a group of the Bible. In fact, most people in America don't have any book at all. They have no group. They are simply part of the cog of the debt, money, capitalism machine that we all exist inside of, that really becomes our religion, right? The accumulation of capital is our religion, and there isn't really a book for that other than, is there a book? Is there a book for the money religion? I don't think there is. But there's not really, right? Because we live in a weak society. We live in a society that does not have strong group bonds over beliefs anymore. We exist in a society that is fundamentally built off of money. So you get your fast food, you buy your food, you buy your stuff at Walmart and Target and blah, 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 blah. And you also go and you get your quick and easy religion without it actually requiring you to really truly be in a culture, really truly be bound to the instructions within a particular book, right? The Bible being the one that we're using. And so something like the Quran, what's really fascinating about Islam, something I really like about Islam, is the praying 5 times a day. Christianity doesn't have that. The Catholics might have a certain daily ritual, but let's say regular, normal, small-town Christian church, Protestant Christianity, Baptist, Church of God, Presbyterian, these denominations, they're not praying 5 times a day. They're not following that ceremony or following some sort of ritual that is setting them apart, right? Part of what a religion is supposed to be, part of the idea of becoming a member of the group of the book, is saying this book is super serious and this book is going to have key ceremonies, practices, and rituals within it that you must follow to be a member of the group of the book. That's the case in Masonry. That's the case in Islam. But with Christianity, as it is modernized now, it has a fundamental level of unseriousness, right? It is more of a casual affair. I think a lot about Muslims who have to pray in some sort of uncomfortable position. And I'm sure that if you asked followers of Islam if they have stories of uncomfortable prayers, I'm sure they have some, right? Because they want to follow those prayers, and sometimes sometimes they're in public, or they're on vacation, or they're in a place where they're exposed to other people's eyes, and maybe that's uncomfortable for them, but they push through and they do that prayer anyway. And I think that's a really strong, powerful element. That simple daily praying that they're doing, it's a very strong expression of their religion. And I would even say that action of knowing you're going to be doing something that is counter to the people around, or they're going to be watching you lay your mat out and bow to the ground and this sort of thing, and there's going to be judgment, there's going to be people's eyes and all of this, but doing it anyway, I'm absolutely sure that is a strengthening of that person's faith. And it is reminding them that they are committed to this, that they are part of this book, that they believe in this, they are part of this group, and that they're going to do what needs to be done according to that, even if it means that they're going to get embarrassed a bit, or even if it means that people are going to mock them or point at them or whatever that might be. But it's such a binder to have something like a 5-time-a-day prayer. And I imagine it is, I have not done that. I've not done the 5-time-a-day prayer because I'm not Muslim. But I imagine it's very strong for that reinforcement and that reminder to live holy, to live in faith, to be consistent with praise, to be consistent with putting your mind on things of God. But that is not the case with modern American Christianity, right? What name a real daily ritual of American Christianity that it is culturally expected for Christians to do? Can you think of one daily ritual, one daily habit, one daily ceremony that Christians are supposed to be doing, that it is culturally reinforced that we as Christians do this thing? I can't think of any. There might be some in Catholicism, but not in Protestant Christianity. And this is because it has become so completely watered down. And this is the thing, is because a religion is fundamentally a group of the book, reinforcing that tie is so important if you're actually going to be this. And the Masons, they absolutely, Masons are more religious than most Christians. And that's really unfortunate, because these darker secret societies and things in our world are being followed with more religious fervor than what is supposed to be core religion of light, which is supposed to be the followers of Jesus Christ, right? But we have mass weakness in that space. And because of that, it shows, right? Because of that, church, Christianity, has found its nice, unobtrusive place in the confines of American capitalist society where everything is money, all is atom, all is ATM. And so it's like, hey, we live in the religion of money, and then to sustain that religion of money and to make sure that people don't think everything is just money, well, then we'll also have churches everywhere. And they'll all be 501c3, and they'll all get their funding, and they'll all be compliant to the next big group of the book, which really becomes the government, right? And the government's book is the law, right? And then their group is the citizens of a particular area. But a government is a religion because you have to believe in this law. You become a group, you become part of the group of the book. A citizen, you are a follower, you are a citizen of America, right? You are a follower of the American law, the Constitution, the precedent set, all these a billion laws, we have. And so it's the same kind of setup, right? Because everything is this. All of this stuff, all of the books are human constructed. You feel that? You feel that little came up when I said that? Right? All of these books are written by people. Of course they are. Of course. Now, you might say they are inspired by God. They may be inspired by divine consciousness. They may be inspired in certain ways by our Creator, our Father. But these books, they are written by human hands. They are inventions of human hands, right? Bibles do not spawn naturally, right? You can't go out in the woods and find a Bible growing. That's not how it works, right? So everything that is created by human hands is fundamentally created by us to serve purposes that we need it to serve. And so the fundamental reason for writing this stuff, a lot of the time, is from a super optimistic perspective, it is to lead more people closer to Creator God. And from a more practical or realistic perspective, it exists to give people a set of rules that you can then wield against them to then influence them to do what you want them to do, so as long as it falls under the guise of the book that they believe in. And so if you're a leader of this group of the book, well, then that gives you influence and it gives you authority. But this is, again, we must remember that our connection to God is the fact that we have consciousness, that we have awareness, that we are here, right? I was not created by human hands. My consciousness was not created by human hands. My consciousness was created by God. My body was created by God. Trees are created by God, right? Books are created by people. Stories, histories, texts that are sacred, all of this is created by human hands. Now, does that mean that there's no weight or power in those texts? No, that's not what I said. But it is very important to remember that everything that is human created is human created, right? Because we get the sense of, oh, wow, no, this other stuff just came into existence. I think there's this big view in Christianity that there's this sort of unconscious and sometimes consciously said sense that the Bible is, the term usually is divinely inspired, and I think I can accept that, but there's this sense that it is almost as if it's spawned in, right? That it is literally above us. But it's the books are not above alive humans. texts, books, histories, parables, mythos, all of this, these are text, words, things said by people, things created by people, created by their consciousness. Someone else's that isn't you, right? Now, they might be a deeply wise and spiritual individual and have a connection to God and therefore could write something that is divinely inspired, but they wrote it, right? It's still coming through them. And so it's coming through that human entity, and you don't know always who that person is, especially if they were hundreds and hundreds of years, even thousands of years before you, right? And you don't know, and also, it is undeniable that the Bible has been shifted and changed and books taken out and put in and all of this, right? If you look at an Ethiopian Bible, for example, it has 88 books compared to the 66 that the modern Protestant Bible has. And then the Catholic Bible also has its own set of extra books, right? And so you clearly have this certain decisions are clearly being made by somebody that is not you about what should and should not be in these sacred books. And then it comes into question to say, okay, well, there may be a ton of powerful and divinely inspired wisdom in that book, but it definitely makes you go, maybe if that book was changed and revised and books taken out and all of this, it's like, okay, well, first and foremost, I am alive right now. I am actually alive in this present moment, right? All these people that have come before, I can learn from them. They're useful to me. I can understand their stories. I can do all of this, but I'm the one that's alive, right? And I'm not even trying to say that in like an arrogant way but I do think that those who bow to someone else's book then become controlled by organizations that are full of fallible people, right? The Catholic Church, for example, being one of the most parasitic and pedophilic institutions ever, right? Clearly, there's something going on there where you could say, okay, well, obviously, with all of these problems and issues, these people are not necessarily God's chosen, holy, wonderful people that are really carrying this fundamental truth. This truth has been systemized and organized into a power structure and then used to control people for millennia, for a long period of time. And I'm not saying that the Bible is useless. I'm not saying any of this. The Bible is extremely, extremely important. And the stories inside of it, especially when you get to the deeper meaning of a lot of these stories and really decode what's being said, there's a lot of powerful stories there. A lot of powerful messages, a lot of things that are valuable for you. But when you bow the knee to the group of the book, and then you start to say, I am going to give up my masculine judgment, decision-making power over to what ultimately is not just a book, but it's whoever is behind the book right now who is also alive, right? Because like I was saying, I'm alive right now. There are currently, there is a pope who is also alive right now, right? And so he's making decisions for the institution of Catholicism right now. And you could even say that you have to think about what that person that is alive, what is that person that is alive right now doing? Rather than saying, oh, well, here's what they did 300 years ago, here's what they did here, here's blah, 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 blah. It's like the most important thing is people that are alive right now. And I would highly encourage you to be careful of submitting to human-created books. I think what you should do instead is read, understand, get full context, and use that to raise your own vibration. Use that to become more like Christ. right? That whole idea of becoming like the Christ, of integrating that shadow, you could also say, of uncovering the lies that you tell yourself, uncovering that darkness, that shadow, that monster, all of this, integrating that, releasing that trauma, finding yourself more in the state of oneness and presence. That's really what we're trying to do. Because a lot of the times when you submit yourself to the group of the book and you submit yourself to the book, then what you find, and this is the case for Christianity a lot, is mass guilt tripping, mass anxiety, mass reminding that you are fundamentally evil and fundamentally full of sin and are absolutely hopeless unless you are part of the group. Now, they wouldn't say that. They would say, no. They would say, yes, you are sinless and hopeless unless you're accepting Christ, right? But by doing that, what are you doing? Well, you are accepting Christ, you are accepting the book, and you are ultimately becoming part of the group and wanting to go with and follow that particular group's rules. And those rules are not always necessarily serving you. They're not always necessarily serving your journey of raising your own vibration, your journey of pushing away darkness and or integrating darkness, let's say, not rather than pushing away, and moving in that direction. But a lot of the times, again, you get into the group of the book and then it becomes guilt tripping, or it becomes reminding yourself that you are of darkness and this sort of thing. Another thing too is when you join the group of the book, that group of the book is also going to tell you the other books or the other groups are evil. So what's fascinating is I love watching people, this has happened to me multiple times around this town that I'm in, where Christians are talking about Muslims in the sense of like, you know, oh, they are obviously following the wrong God and they are totally lost and all of this. And to me, it's so surprising hearing that while also seeing evidence of a much closer connection to, at the very least, daily ceremony, daily ritual that is connecting that person to God, or that is showing that that person has real allegiance to their God. And you don't see that in Christianity in the same way, because it is much more fast food, because it is designed to be a part of the American ecosystem to keep people happy and comfortable enough where they feel like it's good to go to church, but they don't actually have to really allow it to radically change anything, right? If you were really radically a part of a religion and like truly was behind that religion, it would encompass your reality. But what we have in America is Christianity, especially Protestant Christianity, is simply a part of the larger ecosystem, which is the financial ecosystem, the money ecosystem. That's the true religion of America. In money we trust. And then Christianity kind of has its spot, just like Wendy's, just like Target, just like all these other things. It has its little spot in that money ecosystem. But a real radical Christianity would be a turning over of the money tables, right? As Christ did in the temple, right? That would be the direction to go into, right? A fundamental, actual, radical change of the world, but that's not its purpose. And really, this is a much, much, much more key religion in America, Masonry, because the firefighters and the cops and these people are all Masons. Or not all of them, but many of them are Masons, literally to the point where you can see a lot of Masonic lodges by fire stations, by police stations, even by like schools and these other sort of infrastructure districts and things. Because this Masonry, this group of the secret book, is huge. This is a huge huge religion in America, but again, because it's secret, because they use a secret book, because it is supposed to be kind of in the shadows, we don't see it too much. We don't hear about it too much. And a lot of the times, Christian churches are really Masonic churches. No, this is how do I explain this in the best way? Yeah, well, I mean, the simplest version is there's a lot of Masonry behind what's supposed to be Christian churches, right? It looks like a Christian church. It is a Christian church if you go to the service, blah, blah, blah. But it's getting funded through Masons. It's connected to Masons. A lot of that's going on. A lot of that's going on in this town. And I'm sure it's going on all over the place. And you need Masonry in the sense that because you need this sort of front line of strong men that are dedicated to their particular group, right? Whether that's police, whether that's firefighting, whatever. You want them to, you want them to be able to stay in a little town while also having, that sense of arrogance, that sense that they are more stronger or more powerful than other people in the town. Because a lot of the times, people grow up and they go to the big cities, right? They go to New York, go to LA, they go to Miami, this sort of thing. But how do you actually keep strong men in small towns? Well, you let them be Masons and you give them cars and boats and a little bit of land and this sort of stuff. And then now you do your rituals, your humiliation rituals and your ceremonies and these sorts of things. And now they're part of the club. And now, when all of the cops are Masons, all the cops are part of a religion that you're not a part of. Well, that's interesting. It almost feels like America isn't a Christian nation. If the most key positions in local society, like police, are Masonic, well then, how in the world could that be a Christian nation? If the soldiers of the land that are around you do not share your religion, then is your religion really the religion of the land? If the soldiers in that land believe differently from you, if the soldiers of the land literally renounce Christ as part of the Masonic ascension, is America really a Christian nation? That doesn't make sense to me. And the answer is, of course, no. Because we are not a Christian nation. We are only Christian to keep a certain element of the population in line. And in reality, dark evil runs America. And many of us know this. And it is dark evil at a variety of different strata, cultural strata. Big picture, you have media, finance, all of this, and then it goes all the way down to the local level where the cop that's going to pull you over is of a fundamentally different religion than you. Now, is every single cop in America a Mason? No. But are they mostly? And that's a really fascinating thing, that we live in a world where the sheep have one religion, the wolves have another. And the sheep have to listen to the wolves, sheep respect the wolves, right? Most Christians are going to respect the police. Most Christians would call the police if something was going on. Most Christians, when they have a dispute, are they going to try to handle that dispute based upon this? Or are they going to try to handle that dispute based upon this? Right? When you actually get into a dispute at a religious institution, how many times do they go run to the government or the law? The lawyers. Lawyers, liars. Liars, lawyers. How many times do people run to the law? If you don't blah, 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 I'm going to call the police. If you don't blah, 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 you're going to hear from my lawyer. If you don't blah, 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 which is, again, showing you the real book that they believe in, which is the government, right? Not this. Because really, Americans believe in the government way more than they believe in their religion. Because why? Because the government is full of living people, right? The government is actively paying police. The government is actively running the court system. The government is actively doing all of these things because, again, remember what I said, the most important thing is alive people. What are alive people doing? Not what happened 3,000 years ago, not what happened 200 years ago, not what happened, but what are alive people doing today? That's what is changing and moving society now. That is what is sending us in a particular direction. We can talk and discuss about apologetics and did this history happen? Did that history happen? Was this book supposed to be removed? But that is just historians sitting around talking. What people are doing today is what matters the most, and the government is really the religion of America. Government and money. And then for those who are unsatisfied with money, a lot of times you get Masonry, and then the Bible and Christianity exists mostly to keep a core population of employees working and satisfied and feeling as though they are not inside a rotting corpse of a country, but oh no, we're in a Christian nation. It's like, no, you're in a satanic rotting corpse of a society. You're not in a Christian nation. So with that in mind, I want you to remember that you have a direct connection to God right here. Right here. Inside of your brain is your direct connection to God. Inside of your brain is a connection to being able to see and feel truth, is the connection to knowing God's divine path for you. All of that already exists inside of you. You do not have to go to a priest and submit to that person to have a connection to God. That might be helpful for your spiritual walk, to find a mentor or submit to that person, to have somebody who is further along their path of wisdom, let's say, to guide you and mentor you. I'm all for that. But at the end of the day, your connection to God is here, through your consciousness, through your ability to be present, through your ability to be connected to truth. The books are under you. The books are text. They are words. Powerful words, but still words on a page. You know what gives those words on a page power? You reading them and following them. So at all times, you become the living expression of the religion that you follow. No matter what. And so, throughout history, Christianity has taken many forms. It's a very old religion. Is today's version of Christianity exactly like it was even 100 years ago? No. So then what's going on here? Well, it's because people who are alive is what is influencing what happens today. And so a lot of times, don't live in this idea of, oh, well, this is how it was 40 years ago, and that's still how it is now. It's like, no, you always have to live in the present and see, what are people doing now? How is the world being influenced now? What is this religion actually doing now? What is its fruit? Just like a person has fruit, a religion has fruit. What is the fruit of a large group, let's say, like Catholicism, and then what's the fruit of an individual church, and then what's the fruit of an individual person, right? Because every person you're speaking to is a divine being, even if they think they are some sort of nihilistic meat sack that is disconnected from God. They might believe that. They might be walking around with that mask. That might be the part they are playing. But whether or not they want to accept it, they are existing as divine consciousness. They are existing as the most powerful creative entity that we know of walking around every day in the modern world, the human being. So rather than trying to find ways to make yourself small because of what happened in history, bring your power back and say, no, I have the power to see and feel truth and walk in truth, and I will do that, and I will make truth my religion, and then we'll go from there. So be mindful of groups of the book. Be mindful of what their book says. Be mindful of even, especially, do they actually even follow that book? You know, five time a day prayer, it really shows, I mean, that's why you even see, what was it, was it Iran who had the Islamic Revolution? Where they were all westernized in like the 80s and 90s, and then they reverted super heavily back to Islam. And you might say, oh, what a terrible decision, blah, blah, blah. It shows they were serious. And I think that's really powerful. And I bet that a lot of the power, because alive people are what give religions power, right? If everybody in Islam tomorrow stopped doing their 5 times a day prayer and stopped showing up to the mosque, well, then obviously Islam would lose a mass amount of power. It is the regular and habitual human energy every single day that is powering that religion, that is connecting Muslims together in the spirit realm. Do we really see that in Christianity? No, not really. Yes, there are fervent Christians out there. Yes, there are strong habitual Christians out there. But many times it seems like they are few and far between, and most are simply going through the motions of the American version of Christianity and then going back to their true religion, the religion of money. And allowing themselves to remain blind to the secret religions that are around us today. Because they're around. Trust. They're not a joke. It's not some old thing that's not around anymore. It's around. It's happening. Secret societies are a real thing. And we don't need to live in fear because God grants us faith because of our direct connection to Him. But it's important to understand what's really going on. It's important to understand that just like you have your just like you have what is seen, what is conscious, and you have what is unseen and what is unconscious, so does society. As above, so below. We have seen religions and we have unseen religions. There is always this duality, and it exists in a single person, and it exists in a society. And you know the strength of a religion by the seriousness of its rituals and by the seriousness of reactions against it when it is challenged and threatened. And these people will challenge you. They like to do it in a more cloak and dagger way, but they will remind you of their presence. They will remind you of their strength. They will remind you to quiet if you're looking for them. Or even if you're not. A religion is a group of the book. And I say that so basically and even flippantly because I want you to understand that at the end of the day, that's what this is. Religion is always human created. A direct relationship with God, that is not a human created thing. That is a thing that is created by God. A soul is a thing that is created by God. Divine consciousness, your brain, your consciousness right now, even without it being ascended or you doing all this, like just the fact that you exist, that your mind exists, that you're literally able to comprehend the words that are coming out of my mouth, all of this. None of that is created by people. That is divinely created, source created, God created, Father, Mother created. But books are written by people. Divinely inspired or otherwise, they are written by people. A group is simply people that are together, people that have chosen to come together, right? So a religion is always fundamentally a human constructed thing. And that doesn't make it fundamentally evil, but a religion is a fraternity, right? A religion is a fraternity. A religion is a government, right? Sharia law. A religion is a set of instructions, all of that being created by people. And if you would like to participate in a particular group, then go for it. But understand the difference between what is created by God, sun, moon, stars, air, life, trees, you, and what is created by people. Books, buildings, ceremonies, created by people, created by human beings. I'll see you in the next one.